Hello everyone, good morning. Sorry for a little bit delay today. So let's get started with today's bulletin. Today is June 11, 2021. The headlines are as follows. Bihar in funding row as COVID toll jumps by 72% after recount. RJD hits out at Nitish Kumar government for massive rise in casualties in a single day. Bihar's cumulative COVID-19 death toll was revised from 5,424 on June 7 to 9,429 on June 9th after a recount. The graphic depicts the state's cumulative deaths. This is really a matter of concern, I presume, and the hospitals are really not in a condition to, assist and to save patients, COVID-19 patients. Promote second-rung leadership in Punjab AICC. Committee submits reports to Sonia ahead of election. A report submitted by All India Congress Committee panel to party president Sonia Gandhi has said that the Congress needs to actively promote second-rung leaders in Punjab, where assembly election is slated for early next year. The report submitted on Thursday. Okay, so I think this is for they are looking ahead. Finally, they are coming up with a strategy. Not like when the election session comes, then they move into the constituency and try to get votes. They are planning ahead. So let's see how it turns out for Congress this year. 13 inmates in Agra jail move Apex Court for freedom dignity. Okay, I don't think we need to get into this. Odisha's tribals flee village fearing jab. Okay, this is why there should be awareness. FIR registered after students break into JNU library, clash with staff. University to take disciplinary action against students. None arrested so far. Okay. Government cancels class 9th 11th exams. Students will be promoted based on midterm exams. So yeah, okay, that's what this is what just Delhi only. Yeah. Next headline is fathers ultimately unity Melly demise. Sorry, I read it wrong. Turns youth's life upside down. Kuldeep was planning to pursue higher studies in Canada, which was his father's dream, but now has to rethink. It's really sad. May his soul rest in peace. South youth stages own kidnapping to repay debt brought back to Delhi. Wow. Okay, let's move. One in nine health worker got infected even after two doses. Breakthrough infections are occurrence of COVID 14 days after taking both jabs. A study done by faculty members of a government medical college says that nearly one in nine healthcare workers contacted COVID-19 infection even after receiving both shots of a vaccine. Past history, let's focus on that. Most breakthrough infection cases were mild and did not require supplemental oxygen therapy. Conclusion: nearly one in nine SCWs healthcare workers experience a COVID-19 breakthrough infection in the present study. The preprint said that the cross-sectional analysis was conducted at a medical college and a hospital complex in Delhi through telephonic interviews among healthcare workers who had received at least two doses of COVID-19 vaccine remain vulnerable. The findings suggest that in real-world settings, a significant proportion of vaccinated individuals with high risk of exposure remain vulnerable to COVID-19 infection, albeit with reduced disease severity. Yeah, I think that's what they were highlighting. I mean, after both of the jabs, the deaths are can be tackled. I mean, it doesn't matter how serious they get infected, how seriously, but they were saved. No one died, and that's what I heard saying. It was All India Medical Council's president, I think. Yeah. Okay, I don't think we need to focus on that. Let's move to editorial. The dream of a borderless world. More than the biological virus, civilization is experiencing a pandemic of barriers and barricades across the world. The more I see images of racist violence, of the dispossessed sea of humanity traveling hundreds of miles by foot to reach their homes, of migrants being turned back by xenophobic immigrants, police at Mexican border of vulnerable hungry people moving from Somalia to Jordan or Bangladesh to India, or of white policeman suffocating an African American with his knee pressed into his neck. The more I'm compelled to think that the world needs to rise above the frenzy of labels of race, gender, caste, religion, and political bias, and begin instead to address as one people the issue that are far more crucial to humanity. Okay, so they are basically saying that it's very important to address the issues which are like a broad term, focus on humanity, not just on a set of people. More than the biological coronavirus, civilization is indeed experiencing an excruciating worldwide pandemic of barrier and barricades. The real image, but a different image comes to mind when you visualize a borderless Earth from far away in space. The arsenal of concrete concussion wires and checkposts are not visible. You do not see the barriers of language, culture, of distance from here, and you do not see the blockade of Gaza where 2 million Palestinians caged in a zoo that could easily be a toxic slum with negligible access to medicines, food, electricity, and drinking water. The mind begins to wander across the mountains and external tranquil stretch across the face of Earth. Okay, tyranny of the majority. The fence is a testimony of death and terror. So he is talking like in a what do we call it? Mythological term, I guess. It symbolizes this. It symbolizes that. I think he's a fan of Shakespeare. Something Mexicans or Palestinians or we in Indian can very well realize cut off as we are from the rest of the world, lest we infect, enrich an unsurpassable wave of death and human suffering. We stand fractured by not only broad borders but political and economical and social and ethnic differences. Surveillance, lockdowns, and military vigilance at borders are a lame excuse of self-defense, camouflaging the tyranny of the majority. Aiming, is he mad or what? Between the rich and the poor, between the business class and the tourist class traveling in the same plane, reaching the same destination or crashing together, between an upmarket gated community and the suburban of poverty and hunger, between the mosque and the temple, there is a jarring sense of imbalance screaming out in a worldly quest of the inordinate magnificence of bigotry and self-indulgence. An onslaught, sorrowfully, racism now seems to be embedded in the very idea of the fence. The word overflows with stern vigilantism, the cold and heartless bureaucracy, the secret agents and terrorizing state apparatus. The power of peace. The only option left is to peacefully send across the fences their message and songs of resistance that reverberate across the world with the idea of revolution and hope of emancipation and freedom from the tyranny of the handful who rule the world. The rebel voices sooner or later will remember their poets and the songs of their past that will penetrate the fences, tear them down in globally interconnected social movements when the extremes of wealth and poverty will no longer be endured. The language of diversity and dignity would soon engulf the unilateral petty game planes of the rich and mighty. Punjab University, okay. Wow. Seats and bills, a mechanism for CMs to cooperate on issues of state-center relations is welcome. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee called for cooperation among non-NDA counterparts in other states to support farmers agitating against three controversial laws made in June 2020 seems part of a large political project. It is meant to go beyond aiding the farmers who fear that these laws could make them more vulnerable to market fluctuations, but the focus on farm laws, which the government says would make farming more competitive and remunerative, is an important start. While the government reiterated this week that MSP for various crops would continue, the fact remains that regardless of the merits of these laws, they were made without adequate consultations with parties, states, and stakeholders. After a meeting with farmer leaders from Uttar Pradesh, Ms. Banerjee said she accepted their request to speak to other chief ministers who are not in NDA while reiterating her demands to repeal the three laws. She has proposed a virtual conference. Okay, of CMs with farmers and a joint letter to the center on the issue. Many CMs are likely to agree with her despite political rivalries among them. At least two other CMs who were elected along with her in the recent assembly elections share her position on the farm laws. Kerala's Pinarayi Vijayan and Tamil Nadu's M.K. Stalin. In Kerala, the previous assembly had December 20 passed a unanimous resolution seeking the repeal of these laws. That said, all non-NDA CMs may not be willing to be a part of joint platform because of their individual calculation and expediency and the fear of retribution by the center. Delhi's Arvind Kejriwal, for instance, had sought the support of other CMs against unilateral actions of the central that curtailed the powers of his government. Ms. Banerjee has vociferously supported him, but Mr. Kejriwal was not reciprocative when she raised concerns of overreach by the center. The recent joint effort by some CMs to persuade the center to withdraw its previous vaccination policy did not get wholehearted support from others. Turning this into a competitive platform could do more harm than good, but is a suggestion worth pursuing. Cooperative federalism, a concept that Prime Minister Narendra Modi advocates, can be pursued more meaningfully through continuous and harmonious communication with CMs. A conversation on farms law could be a good beginning. Yeah, let's see how things turn out. Terror in the Sahel. Global powers should not stay away from the growing threat posed by Islamists in Africa. The massacre of at least 160 people in border village in Burkina Faso over the weekend is a grim reminder of the threat the Sahel region faces from Islamist terrorism. Nobody has claimed responsibility, but Burkina authorities have named the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, which has carried out hundreds of terror strikes in recent years. The security situation in Burkina Faso, which saw its first major Islamist terrorist attack in 2015, has deteriorated steadily, especially along the borders with Niger and Mali. This has been the case with much of the Sahel region of 5,900 kilometer long semi-arid territory. It has seen terrorist groups expanding their network and stepping up attacks on civilians and soldiers. Four main terror outfits operate in the region: ISGS, the Islamic State West Africa Province, and the local Al Qaeda branch in Mali, and Boko Haram. Of these, the ISGS and the Jamaat Nasser are reportedly in alliance to expand their influence in the Burkina Mali Niger border region. Okay. Major global powers which work together with regional players to defeat the IS in West Asia should not stay away from the growing threat from Africa. They should, along with the UN, help the Sahel countries build capacity and institution, offer stable government, adopt sustainable counter insurgency strategies. Let's see what are Sahel countries. Sahel is one of the Burkina Faso's 13 administrative regions. Okay. Let's move the root of federalism and unwanted tug of war. The controversy in West Bengal over political and administrative issue is an aberration in the federal polity. I mean, happens. Let's go. The Center West Bengal controversy on the conduct of Bengal's former Chief Secretary Alpan Bandhu Bandhyopadhyay in the final days of his tenure in May has thrown up several political and administrative issues that deserve our attention for the future health of a federal polity. What is federal polity? Uh, Federalism is an institutional mechanism to accommodate two sets of polities. That is, first is the center and national level, and second is at the provincial regional level. The details of the federation or dual system of government are generally found in a written constitution. How can you say India has federal party? India is a federal country, but not once in the constitution is the word federation ever mentioned. Instead, what I said is India is a union of states. Actually, many historians believe that India is a quasi-federal country. Polity, okay. Let's see what polity is. A form of process of self-government constitution and organization state a state as a political entity. Um, okay, let's move from this. Should retired officials be barred from disclosing information? The restrictions in place must be based on operational calculation. Last week, the Government of India prohibited retired officials of security and religious organization from publishing anything about their work on organization without prior clearance from the head of the organization. Civil servants are barred from expressing their personal opinion on political matters, policy matters, and criticizing the government. Once they retire, many of them take part in public debates and enrich a conversation in a conversation moderated by Varghese K. George, J.K. Pillai, and Syed Akbaruddin discussed whether there should be any restriction on the freedom of expression of a specific category of retired government of officials. Let's say the issue is whether it is all information on which there is not yet much clarity, or whether it is sensitive information. Who decides what is sensitive, what is not? The government would like to have control of that. Existing intelligence security operations are not affected by such leakage of information, and I think that is pretty much understood when you look at the retired security officials. They make sure that they don't leak like sensitive information. Making peace with nature, a decade of protecting and reviving the ecosystem, will help India in various ways. There has never been more urgent need to restore damaged ecosystem. The COVID-19 pandemic is a direct result of the degradation of natural area species, loss and exploration. Zoonotic pathogens are more frequently jumping from wildlife to humans, creating public health emergencies. Healthier ecosystem and a healthier respect for the wild space of our world will give us healthier planet and healthier people. It is time to change how we cultivate our land, use our soil, exploit coastal and marine ecosystem, and manage our forests. The damage has been done over decades, and destruction cannot be reversed overnight. But we need to start somewhere. That's why the World Organization, the World Environmental Day, the UN Environmental Program, and the UN Food and Agriculture Organization launched the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration to prevent, halt, and reverse the degradation of ecosystem on every continent. Parts towards restoration. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already set India on his path. In 2019, he announced that India would raise its ambition for restoration, promising an increase in restored degraded land from 21 to 26 million hectares by 2030. There are several steps we can take to build on this commitment. First, there must be a concentrated efforts to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. So, first is to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Climate change is dangerous to humans but also fragile to ecosystem that sustain all life on Earth. Globally, we must reduce net carbon dioxide emission by 55% by 2030 compared to 2010, as we must reach net zero emission by 2050. To have a hope of achieving the 1.5-degree Paris Agreement target, India needs to work towards this by transforming energy systems, land use, agriculture, forest protection, overdevelopment, infrastructure, and lifestyles. Crucially, this has to be aligned with conserving and restoring biodiversity and minimizing air and water pollution and waste. Given the interconnectedness of nature, all problems have to be dealt with simultaneously. We already have the goals, targets, commitment mechanism under international environmental conventions. Okay, second, we need to transform our economic financial protection system towards sustainability, including natural capital and decision making, eliminating environmental harmful subsidies, and investing in low carbon and nature friendly technologies are key elements. Okay, finally, the power to revive our environment lies with us as individuals. For a better future, India must work towards creating a food system that works with nature, reduce waste, and are adaptive to change and resilient to shocks. So three factors were highlighted: low carbon emission, there should be sanctions on protecting wildlife, and there is that animal I forgot, it's sold in US and they're like kind of getting extinct because they're endangered species. So just like that, sanctions should be put so that the ecosystem doesn't get anymore, disturbed, and it should stay in that natural habitat. Learning to take questions. Schools reach out to the media for publicity but are averse to scrutiny of any kind. As a reporter covering school, just give me a sec. Education for the Hindu Central City Bureau. My work entailed speaking to teachers in school heads of both public and private institutions regularly. Some of them have given me crucial tie-ups about policy changes. Okay, many of these schools, especially those privately run, consider themselves top brands in education. They believe every event held on their premises, be it annual day, exposes, science project, library club inauguration, surf, road track club activity is worthy of publicity. And there is some coverage, any coverage justified to their efforts. All the same, these schools proved thin-skinned when their institutions were in the news for the wrong reasons. Some of the reactions following the recent troubling allegations of sexual harassment in city schools reminded me of the aversion of to any scrutiny or criticism. Okay, responses from schools management and many others reflected a staunch belief. Okay, staunch. Okay, let's say. It took me back to two important stories from a decade ago. Well, coverage, whose coverage includes similar reactions at that time. One was a swimming pool accident in 2019 at a famous city school in which a 9-year-old boy tragically drowned. A subsequent police case meant the issue, while taking its legal course, received wide coverage and rightly put the spotlight on children's safety in school, a concern that is never redundant. Some schools reacted in telling ways from terming the rules very damaging to the class and the entire school to asking parents to protest against the act through letters that said your child's quality of education will suffer seriously as the teachers will have a very difficult time managing and educating a few children who are not qualified for their particular class or who are very difficult to manage. The institutions barely hit their class by their pride and brand consciousness outweighed everything else, including any sensitivity to the act thrust on fairness on social justice. A few schools heads even casually threw in that I'll speak to your editor line when we sought a reaction. Okay, I mean they are trying to protect their image. You cannot question that because that's their way, because that's how they're going to get more students if they brush up on that. If recently MP moves against Lakshadweep administrator, no starvation in island characters Kerala High Court. Sufficient food stock to last up to October. When CM Sun can enter temple, why ban others? Asked High Court. The secret love story has a happy ending. Kailaman hid his partner in a tiny room at his small family house in Palakkad district for 11 years. Okay, let's move. MEA hints at talk. Ministry of External Affairs hints at talks with Taliban in touch with various stakeholders. This is a good. So we are in touch with various stakeholders in pursuance of a long-term commitment towards development and reconstruction of Afghanistan. That is good. Probe sought into Choksi subduction to Dominica. UK organization lodges a complaint with Scotland Yard. LAEC Election Commission has vast powers to act against criminalization of politics experts. Yeah, they do have that. In the Congress team, Rahul strategy of failure. Okay, restrain online platforms from carrying Islamophobic content. Okay, let's move. I think my internet is facing some kind of problem. Hmm. I think I'll have to attend today's session on this only because internet is facing lots of problems.